All right. Thanks again, everyone, and welcome to Selling the American Cancer Society Story. I'm going to turn things over to your facilitator, Alice Leonard.
Great. Thank you, Karen. Before we get started, can I have a show of hands? How many of you are very comfortable with using Blackboard? If not, if we have anybody that needs help, I'll do a quick tutorial before we get started. See most people. If we have anyone, I'll just do a quickie. Looks like we have a couple people that just need a little review. So I'll give you just a quick review of what we're going to be using today. Just above our names, there are a few icons. One looks like a smiley face, and if you hover your mouse over that, you'll see that a smiley face, laugh out loud, all kinds of icons come up. The next one I want to talk about is the raise hand. It looks like a little hand, and it's still just above our names. It looks like a little hand. If you have any questions during today, or if we ask you to raise your hand, that's where it'll be. The third one, or the fourth icon across, is the one we're going to be using a lot today. So I want everyone to be really comfortable with using this. It looks like a little A right now. If you hover over that, you'll see that we have options for A, B, C, D, or E. We're going to be doing some polling questions as we go through the training today. So what I'd like everyone to do right now is to hover over that little A just above our names and have that drop down to C, A, B, C, or D, or E, and then choose a letter. Any letter you want. It makes no difference to me. I just want to know that everybody is comfortable using that tool. Good, almost everyone got that. And then the last one I want to talk about today is the chat box. So just underneath our names, you'll see a little box that says chat. And then there's a white bar at the bottom, and you can type anything you want into that chat box as we go through today's training. So those will probably be the ones we use the most. If any other ones come up during today's training, I'll make sure I go over those as well. But I think those are the ones we're going to be using the most during today's training. So again, as Karen said, my name is Alice Leonard. I will be one of the facilitators. Karen's going to be helping me out when we get to the polling questions today. But we're going to get this story started. So the American Cancer Society is doing the most to fight cancer. They're doing the most to fight cancer today so that we can end this disease tomorrow. And thanks to our dedicated volunteers, donors, and partners, we're saving more lives than ever before. And we're creating a world with less cancer and more birthdays. But we need everyone's help to finish the fight once and for all. That is really why you're here today, is to discuss how to engage others to join us. How do we sell the American Cancer Society story? So I know I said Karen's going to be doing polling questions, but I'm going to start out with this one. What can you do to help finish the fight? What is your role as an employee or a volunteer of the American Cancer Society? And you can choose from those polling questions that are just above our names. Someone found my other tools. I like that. And Natasha and Becca at the bottom say all of the above. And I will agree with you. The answer really is all of the above. Let me find my tools here. You guys are learners. That's why you're here today. You're mentors so that you can help others learn. And you are a change agent to help people want to work with us. And you are here to inspire others to join the fight. So yes, you are all of those things. So I'm going to get started with a story, and I bet you're all wondering why at 2 o'clock there's a nice looking meatball sub on the screen. But I want to tell you the story of this gentleman. His name is Sterling Price. And in the early 1980s, he worked at a local Pizza Hut in Springfield, Arkansas. This was before there was all those nationwide chain sandwiches on every corner like Blimpies and Subway, Quiznos, all of those that are now available. And this is how Sterling tells his story. He says, a lady came in one day and asked if we had a meatball sandwich. When I told her we didn't, she got very upset. She was on the verge of tears. Sterling was sorry, and he said that even though they didn't have it on the menu, they did have sandwich rolls. They had meatballs, tomato sauce, mozzarella cheese, so he could make the sandwich, had all the ingredients for it, so he told her he'd make it for her and ring it up just as one of the other sandwiches on the menu. That woman thanked him profusely, and then she explained that her husband had been very sick and had lost his appetite. And she was desperate to get him to eat something, and had asked him if there was anything that sounded good. He told her he might be able to eat some of a meatball sandwich. She'd been to several restaurants already, and no one could help her. And that Pizza Hut was her last stop before going home empty-handed. She took the sandwich home, and Sterling didn't think much about it until later the next day when she called Pizza Hut and asked for him. She told Sterling her husband had eaten as much of that sandwich as he could manage, and she was grateful that he was able to make that for him. And it was the most complete and enjoyable meal he had eaten in days. Then she explained a bit more about her husband's condition. It turned out that he had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer a few months earlier, and his loss of appetite was the least of the unpleasant symptoms, but perhaps the only one that she could provide any comfort for. It meant a lot to her that Sterling was able to be so flexible with the menu. Then she told him that her husband had passed away quietly during the night, and that sandwich was his last meal. And by now she was crying, and she thanked Sterling again and said it helped make her husband's last day of life a little more bearable. Sterling says that this story still touches him to this day, and is a great reminder that even seemingly small things we do for others can have a big impact on their lives. So when Sterling was hired at Pizza Hut, I highly doubt that he applied to be a life changer. And I don't know if when you were hired as part of the American Cancer Society, you thought you'd be a life changer too. Have you ever considered the power that you have as an employee of the American Cancer Society? You have the power to influence how others see us, how they work with us, how they donate to us. You can be the reason a customer, a volunteer or donor, a constituent, a person we serve, comes back or stays away. The American Cancer Society is committed to marketing excellence. The aspiration of marketing excellence is that the American Cancer Society will be the charity of choice among its constituents, among its donors, patients, survivors, researchers, and volunteers. And the success or failure of this aspiration lies within you. Simply put, marketing and selling the society's story means bringing the customers in and bringing our customers back. Do you think that the wife of that man that Sterling helped with a simple meatball sandwich will come back to Pizza Hut? Do you think that she will tell her friends about that interaction? Do you think that they will have a special place in their heart for that simple Pizza Hut in Arkansas? In that interaction, no one was more important than the employee. No one's more important than you, or more literally, marketing excellence begins with me and with you. We all know that customer satisfaction is vital to the success of any business. All we need to do is think about our own experiences to find an example of the importance of a relationship between an employee and a customer. I want you guys to think for just a minute. Think about a recent memorable experience you had. Does anybody have a really good story, like a really good memorable experience that they just had either as a customer or as a salesperson or an employee of the American Cancer Society? Someone they'd like to share with us? And you can hit *1 to come off mute if you do. Well, I'll share my story, and let me just tell you, this is a story that I've told, a million times, and I think that I bring more people to this restaurant than any place else. One time I was in Atlanta at our national home office for a meeting, and a bunch of coworkers and I went over to a restaurant kind of across the street from our home office. It's called Max's. It's a pizza place, not anything special. It's pretty good food there. I like it. When we got there, they were closed for a private function, and the hostess at the front told us, we're closed for a private function, but she took us upstairs to the restaurant that's upstairs, which is a German restaurant, the Hofbrauhaus, which, if anybody knows me, I'm part German and love German food, so for me to go to that restaurant was really special. So we went upstairs, she got us a table, bought us the first round of drinks, and made sure we were all set. The next day, we all went back to Max's because it was such a great experience. And I will tell you that I've told that story so many times, and I hope that when my coworkers and people that I work with go to Atlanta, that they go to Max's. But do you think that that person who greeted us at the front desk was a marketing person for Max's? Probably not. She was just the hostess and trying to make us be comfortable and come back again. So marketing staff aren't just all the marketeers. We're all marketers. It's up to you and to me to be the marketing department for the American Cancer Society. All right, so reality check. It sounds great to have the power to help the society be successful, but the reality is every day someone asks you a basic question about our work. What are you doing in my community? Where does all that money go? Why are you doing less local work? The American Cancer Society is a massive, complex enterprise, and it's unlikely that you'll ever know everything about it, and the data is changing year to year, and day to day in some cases, so it's nearly impossible to keep up. What you need to know is what people, for the most part, really want to know when they ask that question. People want to know about our impact. We've done research that tells us that the most important thing people want to know about the society and the work that we do is that we serve those who need it most, that we demonstrate a good understanding of patient needs, and that we impact the most people, and that we're having an impact on this disease. People are not as concerned about whether our work impacted people in their immediate local area. They really care about the big picture. Are we saving lives? So our leaders have focused on impact as they've made decisions about which programs we need to focus on as we streamline our program of work. Everything we are doing is about impact. And that's what this session's about, is helping you better understand the impact the society is having and helping you sell the American Cancer Society story. All right, so let's get started. It seems like I've been talking for a while and we haven't really gotten started yet. We have about 90 minutes for this, and I promise you it's going to go by really fast and you're going to learn a lot. I want you guys to read the slide, and when you're ready to move on, give me raise your hand so I know everybody is ready to move on. And if there's any objectives that are not here that you thought you'd learn in this session, you can write it in the chat box and let me know that as well. I'll give you just a couple minutes to do that. We have a few more people that have to raise their hand. As soon as they're done, we'll get moving on to the next slide. No rush. Okay, it looks like most of you have finished reading that. Is there anything in here that you wanted to add to today's training? Fantastic. All right, we're going to get moving on. So, one second, I missed a page. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about Impact 6. We're going to talk about 6 impacts we are having against cancer. It's a really great piece, and we're going to give you some tools and stuff to go along with that. We're going to talk about our strategic direction. We're going to give you a method to start building your American Cancer Society story using CAR. And then we're going to do some shares. If anybody wants to share, learn it and sell it, we're going to talk about that. Hang on one second. Karen, I have somebody that's trying to get into Illuminate. Can I send you her name, please?
Absolutely.
One second. Sorry, guys. Hang on one second. Okay.
Got it. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, so let's get started with this. So my goal for today is to give you some concise new information to help you more confidently and effectively tell people about the work that we do. This is such a great organization. It's going to help us. We're going to give you some information to help you share that information. And because learning about the society is a process, at the end of this session is not the end of your learning. In order to be the best, you have to make time to stay as up-to-date as possible on the latest American Cancer Society news and their breakthroughs. I know that's easier said than done. It's hard to do. I've been there. We've all been there. But that's what we're going to do today. Does that sound fair? Okay, so no matter what your role is in the field, you are the front line. You are our public relations specialist, and as such, you may feel you need to have as much information as possible. And that may be true in some cases, but how do you keep up with it? You're inundated with information about the society, about relays, strides, coaches, sales, major gifts, on and on and on. We have so much to offer. Then you layer on the organizational transformation, mission priorities, program of work, the business literacy. On top of that, you can see how quickly there's so much information. And we know that the American Cancer Society is the most acronym-heavy company I know I've ever worked for. So what I want you to do is I'm going to have Karen put up 60 seconds on the timer. And in the chat box, I want to see how many acronyms you can come up with. So give Karen 1 second to put that up there, and we'll get started. All right, go. How many acronyms can you come up with? Good. All right, so you guys will go faster than I can read them. There's so many. I have to say I love this part because I love seeing what everybody puts in. Keep going. We got about 30 seconds left. I know you can come up with more. Deborah, LOL, I like it. Got about 6 seconds left. Any more? All right. So that was 60 seconds, and you could see how many acronyms we have. And there's tons and tons of information about the American Cancer Society, and it's all really important. And it's a wonder that when somebody asks us what we do, it's tough to slow down long enough to really think about what information they're looking for. And with all the new language in our organization, it can be really overwhelming. So, are you guys ready for some fun? First, I want you to grab a blank sheet of paper. Fold it in half like the long way, and then fold it in half and then in half again. And this should give you 6 big boxes, or draw 6 boxes on a piece of paper. However you want to do it, that works for me. And we're going to play some trivia games. I'm going to turn it over to Karen in just a second to do the trivia. And in those boxes, you can put each of the 6 impact points. Is everyone ready to go? Give me a thumbs up when you have a piece of paper and you're ready to go. Got a few people ready to go? We're getting there. All right, Karen, I'm going to turn it over to you for a bit.
Sounds good. All right, we'll give Alice a chance to catch her breath and take a sip of water. And this is the fun part. We're going to play a little bit of trivia. So this is definitely a note-taking opportunity. That's why we had you get out that piece of paper. You'll definitely want to jot down some of these notes and know that when we're all done, we will send you a follow-up email that has a job aid in it that summarizes some of the points that we'll go over here in our 6 impact points. But definitely note-taking opportunity. I learned a ton of stuff when I went through this for the very first time. So we'll start ourselves off with our very first quiz question, and that is the Society's annual cancer statistics report shows that in the past 2 decades, cancer death rates have dropped by what percentage? So go ahead and use that polling feature above our list of names. Take your best guess. We're not keeping track of answers. There's no penalty for getting it wrong. Give us your best guess, A, B, C, or D. Use those little icons above the list of names. It'll look like a little letter A, and if you hover on it, it'll give you your choices. Good, we've got lots of people taking a stab at this. Give it your best guess. Looking for final answers in 3, 2, 1. And the correct answer is B. In January of 2013, the American Cancer Society's annual cancer statistics report revealed that cancer death rates are moving in the right direction, and they are down by 20%. And there has been a 20% decline in that overall cancer death rate in the United States from its peak, which was back in 1991 through 2010. And this historic decline is thanks in part to the work of the Society to understand the link between tobacco use and cancer, to educate people of the dangers of smoking, and to advocate for stronger tobacco taxes and smoke-free policies, helping people quit smoking and taking advantage of life-saving screenings and so much more. So another quiz question for you. That 20% decrease in mortality means that how many number of lives were saved total? Go ahead and take a guess, A, B, C, or D. How many lives does that 20% decrease represent? All right. Couple more seconds. Final answers in 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is C, 1.3 million. So the 20% drop in death rates means 1.3 million people that would have died from cancer did not. And that translates into the 400 lives a day. So those 2 quiz questions bring us to our first impact point. So number 1 of 6 is that we are making progress. And after 100 years of accomplishments, the Society has turned cancer from a taboo topic to a rallying cry for change. And because of the progress that's been made against the disease, we are celebrating 400 birthdays every day that would have otherwise been lost to cancer. And today, 2 out of 3 people diagnosed are surviving cancer for at least 5 years. And of course, we want to change that statistic to 3 out of 3 surviving. And while we are making progress, there is still so much more to be done, and we need everyone's help to finish the fight. So our first impact point is we are making progress. Here's a resource for you to check out at some point. This is a really great Society video, and it's available through YouTube, and it explains how we are saving 400 lives a day. So if you go to YouTube and search for, let me get my pointer out here, the title here, Cancer Statistics and Cancer Facts and Figures 2013. Take a minute when you get a chance. Check that video out. Dr. Seffrin talks about the great things that ACS is doing to help save lives. And feel free to share this video with volunteers or any other community partners that you work with. All right, so moving on to our next point, trivia question. Which of the following accomplishments can the Society claim? Is it A, confirming the link between smoking and lung cancer? B, funding 47 Nobel Prize winning researchers? C, being the first organization to promote widespread use of the Pap test. D, proved the effectiveness of mammography back in the 1980s. Or E, all of the above. Which one of these accomplishments can the American Cancer Society claim? And looking for your final answer in 3, 2, 1. Yep, it's E. Looks like everyone picked that. All of the above. So our next impact point number 2 is that we have made history. While most people know the American Cancer Society for its groundbreaking research program, and in fact the Society has played a role in nearly every cancer research breakthrough in recent history, the reality is ACS has long been a visionary change agent on all fronts and has transformed the landscape of the disease. You can see a couple of those points here up on this timeline. And ACS really has made significant changes to cancer and the way that it's talked about and the way that it's looked at. I mean, if I think about just in my lifetime, all those points on the last slide were just a given. But maybe in my mother or my grandmother's time frame, those things weren't necessarily true. So we've made history, and we've really pointed out some significant facts regarding health as it relates to cancer. Our next question. To have the biggest impact on cancer, the Society program of work is focused on which of the following? A, working autonomously to achieve goals. B, measurable outcomes in fewer high-impact strategies. C, a wide and varied set of activities across the enterprise. Or D, let's focus on hard-to-reach disparate populations. Which one of these do you think is what the Society's program of work is focused on now in order to have the biggest impact on cancer? Take your best guess. All right, looking for your final answers in 3, 2, 1. And the correct answer is B, measurable outcomes in fewer high-impact strategies. So as you can see every day, the American Cancer Society is changing. We all know that. We've gone through transformation here very recently. One of the ways we are doing that is by focusing on high-impact strategies, which is doing the best for the most. Our program of work is our strategic plan, and it's designed to align all our work across the nation and put the full power of the organization behind achieving our goals. The Society can distinguish itself by being one of the few organizations of its kind to be truly outcomes-driven. And our program of work is designed to drive towards measurable outcomes as defined by our board of directors. It also provides an increasingly focused vision for mission delivery by recognizing that fewer highly visible strategies based on the best available evidence and delivered consistently across the enterprise. This will have the greatest mission impact and increase our return on investment. So our program of work helps the organization align around what we do and how we do it so that we can reach our goals and deliver consistent experiences to all of our constituents across the country. And that takes us to our third impact point, is that we are doing the most to fight cancer today so we can end the disease tomorrow. So in that last section, it was really kind of business speak, the way we talked about priorities and focus, but maybe this will help simplify things and give you a better idea of what this is talking about. So if you look on the screen here, this map shows us hotspots. And those counties that are in purple, these are our hotspots where breast cancer screening rates are low and death rates are high. And these are counties across the country where many thousands of people, they don't have access to treatment or are unable to complete their course of treatment. It's where breast cancer mortality rate among African Americans is the greatest. And so a story will help kind of illustrate the way things had been working for ACS. So a few years ago, a breast cancer survivor by the name of Hadassah, and she was a survivor and volunteer from Illinois, She told a story about her sister, Demarius, who lived in another part of the country who had just been diagnosed with breast cancer. Hadassah wanted her sister to experience a program that would help drive her to her treatment. So when she called the Cancer Resource Center, she learned that the area where her sister lived didn't have anything like that. Hadassah was floored. Isn't that why she raised money for the American Cancer Society versus a local small-scale nonprofit? And why couldn't her sister take advantage of the same programs through ACS that she did during her breast cancer treatment? Didn't make sense to her, and quite honestly, it doesn't make sense to a lot of us either. That's one of the reasons that we are transforming our organization to provide consistent support across the country. Previously, the programs reaching those purple counties in one part of the country might have been different than those in another part of the country, thus making it really hard to see what is having the true impact. Can't see what works and what is saving lives. So having one single program of work for the entire country enables us to focus resources on areas with increased incidence and mortality rates and those with the greatest need. That way, we are having the biggest impact and hopefully saving the most lives. All right, our next quiz question. True or false? You got 50-50 chance. The American Cancer Society is currently composed of 11 separately incorporated divisions and a separately incorporated corporate center. A or B, true or false? Come on, this is an easy one for anyone who's been around for more than about 2 years. Go ahead and pop your answer in there. Looking for final answers in 3, 2, 1. All right, good job everyone. The correct answer is B, that it's false. This was true in the past, and just as recently as 2012. And in 2012, the American Cancer Society Incorporated officially became a single, united 501c3 nonprofit corporation governed by one single board of directors and led by a single CEO, Dr. John Seffrin. And the board sets policy. They develop and approve an enterprise-wide strategic plan related to budget, and they are responsible for the performance of the organization as a whole, with advice and support from regionally based volunteer boards. The Society staff structure includes a centralized corporate center department and 11 geographic divisions. And so we are headquartered out of Atlanta. We have more than 900 offices and a presence in more than 5,200 communities nationwide. That takes us to impact point number 4. We are putting all of our efforts towards saving more lives faster. And we've been transforming our organization so that we can be the most effective and efficient in doing that. Our resources are limited, and we do have an obligation to continually assess every activity that we undertake and every dollar that we spend to ensure we are having the greatest impact on the most people and focusing on activities no other organization can do as well as we can. And honestly, our public expects that of us. We are recognizing that the world is constantly changing in our knowledge about cancer, our global economy, our media landscape, as well as how we as a culture define community. So the Society constantly works to fine-tune our processes and our structure. In 2012, the Society began a journey of transformation, and it's based on the 6 principles that you see on the screen. We knew that to achieve our aspiration of saving 1,000 lives a day in the United States and 10,000 lives a day globally, that we needed to change, and we have been. Our overall goal is to ensure the Society becomes as effective and efficient as possible so that we can save more lives from cancer faster. So we are one single unified organization, and we have both new strengths and new responsibilities with that. We are stronger in that we now have a unified nationwide footprint, which enables us to deliver even greater mission impact. But with that nationwide reach comes an added responsibility to the enterprise to make sure that we are speaking with one unified voice. All right, so it takes us to our next couple trivia questions. So true or false again? If every person who donated to the American Cancer Society in 2012 formed their own city, it would be the second largest city in the United States. True or false? Take a stab at that. If every person who donated formed their own city, would that be enough people to be the largest city in the second largest city in the U.S.? All right, looking for final answers in 3, 2, 1. The answer to that is true. In 2012, more than 5.7 million people donated with an average gift of $50 to the American Cancer Society. It's a lot of people who want to help us finish this fight. So that takes us to impact point number 5. We are careful stewards of our donor dollars. The American Cancer Society may not be a publicly traded company, but we are publicly held. And being a leader in transparency and accountability is very important to us. 72 cents of every dollar goes directly to the mission, and that funds research, prevention, detection, education, and patient support activities. The rest, about 28 cents, fuels supporting services for our life-saving work to manage and to fund all of those programs. And our administrative costs, they are in line with industry standards, which are set by the Better Business Bureau. Still, we can achieve better operational results, and our transformed unified structure will allow us that opportunity now. We evaluate every fundraising activity to maximize return on investment and to minimize costs. And every staff member's performance objectives do include a stewardship goal. But in the end, it's not just about what an organization's overhead looks like in a pie chart. It's a matter of whether we're making the kind of difference we should be making. And really no other organization can compare. The most accurate measure of the American Cancer Society is our impact on results. So here we have an alert for a great resource. How many people have been asked, where does the money go? I'm sure you're asked that all of the time. So this is a great one-pager that everyone should have handy. If you go to cancer.org and look at the bottom of the page, look for the section called Explore Research. And you can access this one-pager there. And since it's on cancer.org, our volunteers have access to this resource as well. This probably is the most frequently asked question that we all get. So again, this is a great tool to have handy for that. All right, this takes us into our last trivia question. What's an easy framework for talking about the many ways the society is delivering on the promise of saving lives from cancer? Is it A, we help people stay well, get well, find cures, and fight back? Is it B, we tell people to eat less, get active, pass the test, and don't smoke? Is it C, we have the cure? Or is it D, we're fighting hard? Which one of these choices is an easy way to talk about all of the different things that the American Cancer Society does? All right, looking for your final answers in 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is A. I'm sure most of us have heard stay well, get well, find cures, fight back. And that takes us into our final impact point. It's that we help people in every community. We help them stay well, get well, find cures, and fight back. There's hardly a person out there who hasn't benefited either directly or indirectly from the American Cancer Society. From the scientifically based guidelines that doctors and the public follow to help prevent cancer and detect it early, to the patient who needs a ride to treatment or a question answered at 3 a.m. From the survivor whose treatment was discovered by an American Cancer Society funded researcher to the person who walks into a smoke-free restaurant because of our advocacy leadership. So thanks in part to the American Cancer Society's work, nearly 14.5 million cancer survivors and countless others who have avoided the disease will celebrate another birthday this year. So an example in each of these areas, if we look at stay well, we can look at the fact that we help people take steps to prevent cancer or detect it at its earliest, most treatable stage. Get well. We support patients, caregivers, survivors around the clock to guide them through a cancer experience. Find cures. We're getting results by investing in research that helps us understand cancer's causes, determine how best to prevent it, and discover new ways to cure it. And finally, fight back. We help pass laws that defeat cancer, and we rally our communities to join in that fight. And we will dive a little bit deeper into these 4 categories a little bit later on. All right. Great job taking the quizzes. So I'd love everyone to kind of take a moment and either write in the chat box or come on the line and tell me your biggest aha from those 6 impact moments. Anybody have a new tidbit that they learned and they'd like to share now when they're talking with folks about what ACS does? And again, it's *1 on your phone to unmute if you'd like to share verbally with us. Looks like we've got a couple comments coming in the chat box. Go ahead and keep typing those comments in there. Good. So knowing how we came up with 400 lives a day stat was eye-opening. Good. Data drives where some of our concentrated efforts occur. Absolutely. New 20% decline, but like using 400 birthdays a day makes it real. Absolutely. Not really one aha. Good to have the perspective of the impact 6. Good. So again, just to kind of summarize all of those points, we are making progress. We have made history. We're doing the most to fight cancer today. We're putting all of our efforts towards saving more lives faster. We are careful stewards of our donor dollars, and we're helping people in every community stay well, get well, find cures, and fight back. So hopefully that helps give you more knowledge as well as some specific and impactful things to illustrate what we do at the American Cancer Society. So at this point, I am going to turn things back over to Alice, who will take us further into our session.
Thanks, Karen. Great job, everyone. It was great to see all the polling questions as they came through. So the opportunity is before us to save lives from cancer and truly bring this disease under control in this century. And this has never been greater. And while 20% reduction in cancer mortality is historic, it's just not enough. The Society's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Otis Brawley, has stated that we could increase that to 40 or 50% if we just continue to do what we know how to do. And so how do we get to the point where we're saving 1,000 lives a day in the U.S. or even 10,000 lives a day globally? What is our plan? It's a common sense that in order to get somewhere, you have to know where you're going. To make sure that our organization continues to make progress towards our mission, the American Cancer Society's Board of Directors is working to establish 5 strategic goals for 2020. And they are, let me get my pointer here. They are mission impact, and that is to be the nonprofit leader in the fight to save 1,000 lives per day in the U.S. and in the movement to advance World Health Organization's target to reduce premature mortality from non-communicable disease by 25% by 2025. Operational performance, to achieve an annual gain in operational efficiency and increase our organization's allocation of more dollars to the mission toward a goal of 80% by 2020. In revenue, to increase our organization's overall revenue. In market, to be relevant to more people than any other nonprofit health organization, effectively engaging all stakeholders to deliver the greatest impact. And in talent, we want to attract, develop, and retain top talent to positions in the society as the leader in the nonprofit sector in which to work and to volunteer. And these are a natural progression of our goals that were set for 2015 and an indicator of our commitment to relentlessly pursue impact and to save more lives faster. The board approved priority mission outcomes, those areas of work where we can have the biggest impact in the fight against cancer and save more lives. In short, they represent the greatest opportunity for the society to accelerate progress towards saving lives from cancer. The outcome-driven drive of our program of work and the outcomes drive our program of work and serve as the basis by which we measure and report our progress. And I'm not going to go into great detail, but I'm going to give you a little bit more information in just a second. And it's just a high-level overview of each of those impact points, each of these mission outcomes. So let's talk about tobacco control. Tobacco control is going to be one of the most important ways we save more lives faster in the future. We've made great progress against tobacco in the past 50 years. Since the landmark Surgeon General's report on smoking and health was released in 1964, proving the harmful effects of smoking. Smoking rates have dropped from 42% to 19% today. Yet tobacco remains the most preventable cause of death worldwide and causes 480,000 deaths yearly in the United States. And worldwide, tobacco kills 1 million people in the last century, and if left unchecked, it will kill 1 billion in this century. The American Cancer Society has long been a leader in the fight against tobacco and will continue to be so as we work to finish the fight. Our priority mission outcome for lung cancer and tobacco control are to increase tobacco excise tax in all jurisdictions, including increasing the federal excise tax. To increase the percentage of the population covered by comprehensive smoke-free laws, with the ultimate goal of a comprehensive, non-preemptive federal smoke-free law. And to develop lung cancer screening guidelines, which we did for the first time in January of 2013, when we released the newly developed guidelines for lung cancer screening using the low-dose computer tomography. With nutrition and physical activity, to impact this area, we must promote environmental changes that will improve nutrition and physical activity and advocate for related legislative and regulatory policies at all levels of government. To address colon cancer, we must increase interventions to reduce colorectal cancer death rates in specific communities that have the highest colorectal cancer death rates. Some types of colorectal screenings can even prevent cancer by finding them and removing polyps before they become cancerous. And if cancer is present, early detection can mean survival. And the 5-year survival rate is 90% when colorectal cancer is found at its earliest stages. That's why the American Cancer Society and the Colorectal Cancer Roundtable have launched a new initiative to help increase colorectal cancer screening rates nationwide from 65% to 80% by the year 2018. We believe this goal is achievable, but we can't do it alone. We're rallying individuals, communities, and systems to promote colorectal screenings among all recommended population. And joining forces with hundreds of organizations to mobilize communities across the U.S. The breast cancer goal is similar to the colorectal cancer goal. It's to increase interventions to reduce breast cancer death rates in specific communities that have that highest breast cancer death rates, that map that we showed earlier. And to achieve this goal, the American Cancer Society invests more in breast cancer research than any other cancer, and has played a role in nearly every major breast cancer research breakthrough in recent history. We offer information, answers, and emotional support to people facing breast cancer 24 hours a day. In fact, breast cancer is the #1 reason people call the American Cancer Society every year. Through our advocacy affiliate, the ACS CAN, we're working with lawmakers to increase funding for breast cancer research and ensure access to mammograms for women who need them. For survivorship and quality of life to impact cancer treatment and patients, we must provide a multi-channel resource navigation options and implement interventions aimed at reducing barriers to care for individuals with low income and low education levels. And in the access to care area, we need to implement key provisions of the Affordable Care Act related to prevention, patient-based insurance reforms, establishment of state-based insurance exchanges, and essential benefits packages in Medicare and Medicaid. As I said at the beginning of this section, that was just a very high-level overview of our priority mission outcomes, and there's much more in the 2013 Organizational Outcomes document, which is available on the governance page of cancer.org. And a 2014 version is currently in development, so stay tuned for that. And I encourage you to take a look and share this resource with your volunteers and with your coworkers. So far we've covered the 6 ways the American Cancer Society is impacting cancer in the communities, and we've taken a quick look at the priority mission outcomes. But before we transition into telling your story, I'd like to hear from you. What are you putting in your knowledge bag to share with others? What are you going to do to share your information? Is there anything that came out of that? $80 by 2018. I know I like that too. Any other tidbits that you guys got out of this? I see a few more people getting ready to write. Combining the current facts with the 2020 enterprise goals, shows that we are pushing to get better even though we're already pretty awesome. Yes, we are pretty awesome. The flyers from cancer.org, yeah. There's so much information on cancer.org. One example each from Fight Back, Get Well, Find Cures, Stay Well, Get Well, Find Cures, and Fight Back, yeah. I love sharing our NCIC resources. So do I. Share it with as many people as you can, right? We give that number out all the time. Okay, so let's move along. We started the session talking about how important your role is and how the power you have to influence people and how they see us, how they work with us, how they donate to us. Remember, you can be the reason a customer stays or stays away, whether they come back or stay away. One way to get people excited about the work that we do is through the use of stories. The truth is that if you fill people with a lot of facts, give them a lot of facts and figures, you'll be lucky if they remember 1 or 2 of them. But put those facts into a story, on the other hand, and you stand a much better chance of that information sticking. It's why it's easier to figure out an answer to a physics problem, which I still can't figure out, that starts with, if the sailboat was drifting towards the cliff at 5 kilometers an hour, rather than if you started one with, calculate the vector of x. The best stories are real. You can talk about how the food product that you make is based on a family recipe, but you need to show your employees a framed copy of Grandma making that original cookie recipe. They need to be organic. You want to think grassroots, not top-down. They need to be consistent, and that means being friendly. Friendly not just to your suppliers and your employees, but to everyone, your customers, everyone. And they need to be interesting. A rags to riches story will get you a reality show quicker than any slow and cautious growth story. And after you've studied all of the talking points, it's important to put them down and speak from your heart, in your own words. Stories bring the facts and figures to life and help us make personal connections with people. It's important because cancer is, after all, personal. Would you like to have a tool that will help you tell your American Cancer Society story? Well, let me ask you, what do you think makes a good story? Tell me in the chat box, what do you guys think makes a good story? Emotion, yep. Personal. Experience from the heart, personal outcomes, yep. All of those things are totally true. You have a couple more people writing. Relatable, yeah. Don't include tangible details. I know, facts and figures, they just go right over my head. I don't listen to them. If you give me something that I can relate to, I'm much more better equipped to, I guess my brain is better equipped to remember that story. All right, well typically a story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I bet you're wondering why Pinocchio is on my screen. But we'll talk about Pinocchio as kind of a way to tell a story. So when you're telling a bedtime story, you often start with something like Once Upon a Time. And then you move into something about the characters. There was a puppet named Pinocchio. And after that, you naturally want to tell what happened to that character. Every time he told a lie, his nose grew. And once the adventure is told, you wrap it up with the results. It could be something like, and they lived happily ever after. One way to look at telling a good story is through something called CAR, which means context, action, and results. And this is a tool to help tell the American Cancer Society. Using this formula, we can help ensure our stories convey the impact points we discussed. Next, we're going to start practicing crafting our story around 4 key areas of the American Cancer Society. What does the American Cancer Society do? We've heard a lot today about what the American Cancer Society does and how we are having an impact. We're all about saving lives, and we do that in so many ways. We help people stay well by working to prevent cancer or detect it at its earliest stages, when it's the most treatable. We help people get well. We're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help anyone fighting cancer to get the help they need, when and where they need it. We also fight back against cancer by working with elected officials to pass laws that fight cancer. And we bring communities together to join the fight. We can rattle off this tagline all day long, and so many other taglines the American Cancer Society has. And we might sound like we're aligning with our brand, but we have to ask ourselves, does this really illustrate what we do? Let's look at Stay Well. We help people take steps to prevent cancer by finding it at its earliest, most treatable stages, as I've said a couple times now. And we help people take steps to stay healthy. Well, how does that happen? How do we help people stay well in our communities? We know that many cancers could be prevented if people did what we know works. Avoid tobacco, maintain a healthy weight, exercise, eat a healthy diet, and get the recommended cancer screenings. So we offer programs like Quit for Life, which is operated by Allure Wellbeing, which has helped more than 1 million tobacco users make a plan to quit for good. We provide tips and tools and online resources to help people set goals and stay motivated to eat healthy and maintain that active lifestyle. We spread the word in communities across the country to fight for local, state, and federal policies that help keep us healthy. Excuse me, 1 second. And we set guidelines for doctors for early detection and prevention and work to promote cancer screenings. For example, right now we're collaborating with 200 public, private, and nonprofit organizations to increase colon cancer screenings to 80% by 2018 because we know that increased screening rates will save lives. To stay well, examples of stay well, I'm sorry, back up 1 second. So we want to build out stories that illustrate those impact points. And some of those examples can include a story about a family member who quit smoking and how they did it and why they did it, and those results. Someone who was screened for colon cancer, even though they didn't have any symptoms and had polyps removed, which prevented them from developing into colon cancer. Maybe it's a story about someone who lost weight or got healthy after a cancer scare, not realizing the two were connected. Maybe it's a story about a child who participated in a relay recess and then came home and got their family to work out together. Or a story of someone who tried a new recipe out of an American Cancer Society cookbook, not realizing how healthy food could taste so good. You want to keep it simple, but show how the work of the American Cancer Society is doing and how it has an impact on cancer. So I want you to take out a piece of paper, another piece of paper, or turn the one that you have over, and I want you to mark the side of it CAR, and that's for context, action, and I always forget the last one, so I've got to go back. Yep, there we are. Context, action, and result, and we're going to start working on developing our own cancer story. So I'm going to give you a couple more facts and figures before we get into actually developing our cancer story. Let's talk a little bit about, Get Well. Hang on, let me get there. So for Get Well, how do we help adults, children, families, and communities get well? Each year we help nearly 1 million people touched by cancer get the help they need when and where they need it. Our cancer information specialists answer questions, provide information, and refer people to community resources 24 hours a day, 7 days a week via our 1-800 phone number or by email or live online chats on cancer.org. We're available every day, all day, whenever patients and families need us to provide reliable cancer information that helps them understand their diagnosis and make decisions about treatment. We help patients with their families and their families with the most pressing needs and quality of life concerns, including dealing with the symptoms, pain, and stress of cancer and its treatment, navigating the healthcare system, getting rides, or finding lodging. And there's so much more that we do. Whatever the need, we can help. For example, the American Cancer Society's Hope Lodge has helped tens of thousands of cancer patients and their families save tens of millions of dollars every year by providing free lodging and a community of support while they're undergoing treatment far from home. And the American Cancer Society's Patient Navigation Program is offered in hundreds of cancer facilities across America, helping guide cancer patients through every step of their journey. In addition, more than 45 million people each year trust us for the information about cancer via our website, cancer.org. We find cures, right? We know we do that. How do we help people find cures? We fund groundbreaking research that helps us all better understand, prevent, and cure cancer. We've had a hand in nearly every major cancer breakthrough in the past century, including confirming the link between smoking and lung cancer, establishing the link between obesity and multiple cancers, developing drugs to treat leukemia and advanced breast cancer, and showing that mammography is the most effective way to detect cancer. We're the largest private, non-profit funder of cancer research in the U.S. We've invested $4 billion in cancer research since 1946. We fill a unique need by funding beginning researchers with cutting-edge ideas early in their careers. And we have a track record of identifying and funding the best and brightest ideas. And 47 of those scientists that we've funded have gone on to win Nobel Prizes, the highest accolade in scientific achievement. And we have brought research to our communities. More than 300,000 people have joined the Cancer Prevention Study, number 3, which will give us more insight into cancer than ever before. And we fight back. We work with lawmakers to pass laws to defeat cancer, and we rally communities worldwide to fight back against cancer. We fight cancer as not just through public policy as we do in the laboratory. And 50% of the U.S. population is now covered by a comprehensive smoke-free law so we can breathe easier. And that's thanks in part to the society and our nonprofit, nonpartisan advocacy affiliate, the American Cancer Society's Cancer Action Network. Together, with ACS CAN, we can help pass laws ensuring people have access and coverage for life-saving cancer screenings and treatment. We have helped more than 3 million uninsured, underinsured, and low-income women get breast cancer and cervical cancer screening tests since 1991. And along with ACS CAN, we have successfully fought for legislation protecting this care. And we fight for increased federal investment in cancer research. One in every 100 Americans participates in one of our 5,200 American Cancer Society Relay for Life events across the globe, comprising the world's largest movement to end cancer. The American Cancer Society is making strides against breast cancer, unites 1.2 million walkers in nearly 300 communities to help save lives from breast cancer and to provide hope to people facing the disease. And the money we raise benefits people in every community. Anyone can benefit from the research discoveries, no matter where the research was conducted. Whether there's a Hope Lodge in your city or not, everyone in your community can possibly benefit by staying at a Hope Lodge in another city if the treatment they need took them there. And our 24/7 call center is there for anyone, anywhere, day or night. All right, so there's some information about stay well, get well, find cures, and fight back. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes, I guess. Does that sound good, Karen?
Yep, sounds good to me.
Okay, we'll give you guys 5 minutes to start crafting your American Cancer Society story using some of the impact points, using some of the information that we've provided today. And then when the 5 minutes is up, and believe me, it goes by really, really quickly, anybody that would like to share their story at that time, we'll give you a moment to do that as well. So we'll put 5 minutes up on the board here. Perfect, and we'll come back then. Okay, so that was a quick 5 minutes, I know that. And I'm hoping you all got a chance to at least start crafting your ACS story. So our brand is our promise, and it's a promise of a world free without cancer, free from cancer. And nothing could be more inspiring than communicating that promise in terms of your own personal experiences. You help others understand what we do in a very personal and profound way. It's critical that you use your voice to share simple, memorable stories that touch the hearts and the minds of our friends, family, and communities. When you share the compassionate strength, optimism, and bold determination of our mission through your personal experience, you revitalize our brand, you grow our organization, and you help save more lives. You're part of one of the greatest causes of our time. So as I said, I would give people some time right now. If anybody would like to come off mute, you can hit *1 to come off mute and share your story. Would anyone like to share their story? You can raise your hand if you like, and then I'll call on if more than one person wants to do that. And I know it's a very personal thing, so you have to be very comfortable coming off mute and sharing that story, and I appreciate anyone that would like to do that. Again, just hit *1 on your phone and you can come off mute. And let me tell you something about your story. As you're developing your story, it's going to change depending on the audience you're with, who you're talking to, how much time you have. For those of us who've been around for a little while, my story changes depending on the day of the week. And I'm sure Karen feels the same way. And I'm actually going to call on Karen because she said she'd be able to share her story. So I'm going to let her share today.
Sure. Thanks, Alice.
Thank you.
So, yeah, when I thought about this, my story would fit into the category of either fight back or stay well. And I think about the fact that my grandmother was diagnosed with lung cancer, and she never smoked a day in her life. She worked in a small office at her church, and the priest and the other visitors who came in to talk with him, they smoked cigars and cigarettes on a regular basis. So she was confined in a small little office through her work and breathed secondhand smoke for all of her working life. And so later on, after she had been retired for many years, she eventually was diagnosed with lung cancer. And you know, it just shocked us all because we knew that she had never smoked a day in her life. And now, through ACS CAN, we know that 80% of the population is protected by clean air laws. So I think about myself, and I have never worked in an office where anyone smokes. I have never smoked in my life. I even think about as we were growing up as kids, even family members at holidays knew to go outside and smoke and not smoke in the house with us kids. So, you know, based on that knowledge that came out of one of our early CPS studies, we were able to make that connection between smoking and lung cancer. And it actually changed the way that my family lived their lives and what we put ourselves into contact with. So that would just be one example of how I make that personal for me and my cancer story.
Thank you, Karen. Would anyone else like to share their story? We have a few more minutes to talk. All right. So here's what I want to know from you guys. What are your takeaways? How are you going to share your voice in the fight with your volunteers, with anybody that you come at, your constituents, anyone you come in contact with? How will you use this information to better sell the American Cancer Society in your communities? I want you to use the chat box and tell us what your takeaways are from this session. You heard a lot of information today, and if you didn't absorb it all, every single word, that's okay. We talked We had tons of information that we threw at you. So talking about our organization with knowledge and conviction is a career-long process, and it takes time. So we don't expect you to walk away today knowing everything that you need to know. What I'm saying is that this is not the end of your learning. There's much more to your learning than just this. I love the updated Where Does Your Money Go flyer. Yeah, it helps so much. And on Society Source, too, there's a Share ACS. There's a document where does the money go, and there's lots of hyperlinks in there as well. Talk about your experience with the cancer and why you believe in the organization. Numbers and Impact 6 help to communicate that. I agree. When I went through this the first time, just like Karen, I said I learned a lot of stuff. And that Impact 6 was probably where I was like, wow, there's some great information in here that I knew some of it, but may not have known all of it. Tailor specific ACS programs and specific fact you mentioned today to a volunteer's personal story. Yeah. Making it really personal, too. Good job. Anything else? I see a couple more people writing. I'll give you a chance. All right. So we have more resources to help you, to extend your learning, to help you become the best spokesperson possible. We want you to keep learning about the American Cancer Society, the impact of the American Cancer Society. We want you guys to share that information with your volunteers, with customers, constituents, anyone you come in contact with. And practice, practice, practice. The more you tell or sell the American Cancer Society story, the more comfortable you're going to be at doing so. As I said, my story changes depending on my audience, how much time I have. I have many stories, unfortunately. So depending on the audience, I could be talking about my mother-in-law who's a uterine cancer, who lost her battle last year to uterine cancer. If it's a younger audience, I might be talking about my husband who was diagnosed at 33. If it's something about the colon cancer, I could be talking about my dad who lost his battle a couple of years ago to colon cancer. So my story changes depending on who I'm talking to, what I'm talking about, what's the impact going to have on that, on this group that I'm working with. So tailor your story to those, as Suzanne said, tailor your stories to specific programs. And practice, practice, practice. Go ahead and tell it to anyone who listens. Tell it to your cat if she'll sit still long enough to listen to you. Make sure you feel comfortable telling your story. On the home page of Society Source, there's loads of information, and that changes every day. And that reinforces our message of impact. And you can find lots of information there. So again, this is just one of the things. Cancer statistic death rates continue to drop. That was one thing that was on there. And some other resources for you there. ACS has a YouTube page, her YouTube channel, in case you don't know that. There's some impact videos. There's one of volunteers telling their story. There's a video of the 100 years of accomplishments. And then there's a relay impact video on there talking about where the money goes as well. And these are great pieces for you. The American Cancer Society, how the money raised is making a difference. Talking points help frontline staff and volunteers communicate the Society's mission and how we invest donor dollars. There's lots of information on there. There's a 2-page Telling Your American Cancer Society talking points that help staff and volunteers tell the Society story in a personal and compelling way. And these are all on the Society Source and on our ACS brand, the new brand toolkit. So just go out there and look for these things. And then there's audience-specific talking points and tools that'll be on the toolkit and on Society Source as well. So just make sure you get out there and look for those things. And there's an abundance of stuff, of resources for you on Society Pathways as well, including the Business Literacy Learning Guide. And then there's a quiz for new staff and a virtual scavenger hunt of resources to help you find that. So if you're a new employee, go to the Society Pathways under Learner, and search for NA Business Literacy, like it says right here, and you'll find a lot of information. So this is what we said we'd talk about by the end of today's training. I think we got through all of that. You have an understanding of our society's work, what it's focused on, why we focus on the high impact strategies to save lives. We said you'd be able to highlight at least 3 ways a society is making an impact in the fight against cancer, and I think all of you have been able to say that when we talked about the 6 impact points and what your takeaways were for that. And be able to better take your voice to the fight, to your communities, and share it with your volunteers and your customers. And I think we've all started in a process of going here. Although this piece we're not finished with yet. It really does take practice, time, and just crafting it and saying it over and over again until you become very comfortable with that story. I will tell you, my sister's been volunteering for 14 years maybe, and she can't get through her story without crying, and that's okay too. Sometimes our stories are so personal that we get choked up saying them. But the more you practice your story, the more comfortable it'll be a part of your world. So as I said, we want you guys to keep practicing, record yourself, record your story, upload it to Yammer with the hashtag hashtag ShareACS. We want to keep hearing those stories and inspiring each other and our volunteers to finish the fight. Karen and I would like to thank all of you so much for being on the call today. We appreciate it. And if anyone has any questions, Karen and I will stay on the line for a little bit longer to answer those questions for you. Thanks, Karen, because I really messed that up when I said that.
No problem. Thanks, everyone.
If there's no questions, you guys got about 5 minutes left back to your day.